guys? Welcome to the SoundCentric podcast. I'm Samuel Sarfo.
I'm Adam Dash.
And today we have another guest with us. You may know him as Volksgeist. He's easily one of the most influential music creators on YouTube. He's also the co-founder of Watch Nebula. And honestly, it's a real honor to have him. He's been doing amazing things on the music space, from storytelling, documentaries, to video essays. If you haven't heard of him already, what's wrong with you? Go ahead, check him out. But Volksgeist, aka in behind the scenes, Philip, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
If anyone's a fan of hip hop, they've definitely stumbled upon one of your videos, of your documentaries. As I complimented you before we started, the best documentary voice you could have, just perfect for the videos.
Thank you.
But Philip, as you know, you're a recent new fan to us. I know you were a fan of Elsie. Shout out Elsie for coming on last week. But we do a playlist title of the week just to kind of recount what we've done, how we're feeling. So Sam, we'll start with you. What is your playlist title? How are we feeling?
My playlist title is going to be OK Computer. Shout out to Radiohead. I've just been a junkie for them for the past month. And my leading single is going to be Oh My This Side, Travis Scott. Before this, I was at the grocery shop, just hamming to it. Easily one of Travis's best songs, and Rodeo is one of his best albums. I know later on we'll talk about Utopia. Philip already did a Travis Scott video and a Utopia video, so we'll talk about that later on. But Rodeo is one of my favorites of all time. And Utopia, I did love, but I do miss that old sound from Travis. But what about you? What's your leading single and playlist title?
I know you. Well, first, you get mad at me for my Rodeo take that some of the songs are too long on it for me. Some songs, I'm like,
big time clown.
It's going on forever. I'm kind of going to derail this by just kind of doing a quick review of Brent Faiyaz's album, because this album has shot up to top 5 of the year for me after being out 1 week. I did not come into the year expecting R&B music to be crowding my top 5. I am not mad at it, but this Brent Faiyaz album sounds like Pharrell produced it in the early 2000s. It is so damn good. My favorite one right now is the ASAP Rocky one, because he's rapping, he's singing on it, and then the girl who's featured on it, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, N3WY. This is a thing for artists. Make your name being able to search it on Apple Music or Spotify easier, because what are we doing here? That's a complicated name. But this album is so good, and if you're an R&B fan or need to become an R&B fan, bump this Brent album. It is amazing.
Have you heard it yet, Philip?
No, I've been meaning to. You know, everyone's promoting it on Twitter and stuff. But
yeah.
I don't listen to albums.
Me and Philip are on the same boat, because I haven't listened to it yet. I know it's bad, but we'll get to it. Don't worry. Life's been busy, right?
Yeah. It's hard. There's so much music coming out. I haven't listened to Sampha yet. I just haven't had the time to find that album. And that's something that I've been waiting for years. It's difficult these days.
I kind of have a take on that album.
On the Sampha album?
Yeah, I've listened to it a few times, man. I think it's like, you know, it's very much aimed at people who like good albums. Like, it has all the parts that a good album should have, but I'm not actually sure if it is good to listen to. You know what I mean? Like,
interesting.
It's very much like, I don't know. It feels like it was made for critics almost. Like, he put in all the stuff that an awesome album should have, but then I listen to it and I'm kind of like, it does have good songs, and it really does. But you know, I don't know. I wouldn't call him a feature artist, but he's kind of a behind the scenes guy, and it feels like behind the scenes type music almost.
I mean, that makes sense. There's certain artists who, and I don't want to discredit them, that they might have great albums, but are kind of known as great feature artists. I mean, we'll see if this Ty Dolla $ign Kanye album actually comes out. BJ the Chicago Kid is someone who I'm always like, amazing feature whenever he's on a song. But I don't think I've ever heard a BJ the Chicago Kid album. That's on me. I'm not sure if he has a great album out.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lil Durk is one of those too. I thought he was more popular than he is, because he's on a lot of big songs. But then I look at his albums and they only have like a couple million streams on Spotify per song, like if that. Yeah. And I actually like the albums, but I'm like, no one listens to these. Unfortunately, no one listens to this.
Durk has an interesting career where, because me and Sam have talked about this, where Sam was like, oh, he's like a rising artist. And I'm like, oh, he was on Double XL in 2013. Yep. So it's, one hand, really impressive how long he's been around. And it's a mixture of he's really famous, but he's really not that famous.
Yeah.
It's a confusing one.
I think he's doing the best he can. I remember when I got my first car in 2017, and the car salesman was like, you like music? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, you got to listen to Lil Durk, man. He's up next. And then, you know, I was like, okay, whatever, bro. This is probably your friend or something. And then,
Yeah.
I found out about, and I obviously got reintroduced to him in 2020 when Laugh Now, Cry Later came out. And I was like, oh
Great
shit,
song.
that's the guy who my car salesman told me to listen to 3 years ago or something.
And
Yeah.
his song on Certified Lover Boy, I also really liked. I'm
Mhm.
forgetting what the name is, but I like he shouts out his girlfriend's cosmetic
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, I think he actually.
But that's how it is right now. With I guess the music space currently, you don't need to have an album per se. If you can make hit songs, be a feature on a hit song. I mean, that's all that's needed. But personally, I love Lil Durk. After that, All My Life, Hit the Streets. That's been jamming all throughout 2023. But
Them kids singing.
yeah. But hopefully, you had enough time to think about it, Philip. What's your playlist title and leading single to sum up your week?
Well, my leading single to sum my week, I would say, is the song "Larry Bird" by Kojak. Kojak is an
Yes. Okay.
independent Irish rapper. Have you guys heard of him?
Hmm. I've heard of
He
him.
just dropped a new album. I think it's the first one after getting dropped by his label because he wasn't selling super
Hmm.
well. But it's actually amazing. It's kind of like, I always thought Slow Tie had a cool sound, but I don't really like listening to him. But I actually really like listening to this,
Mhm.
and it sounds fairly similar, very like noisy and stuff. So that would be, I've been listening to that nonstop. Playlist title, I don't know, guys. I'm sorry, I don't have one. But that is the lead. That is like the song of my week. Larry Bird by
Mhm.
Kojak.
Yeah, good pick, good pick. And let's waste no time. We want to dive right into it. And honestly, just to start out with you, obviously you're known for your creative content, but what pushed you to start creating the platform Volksgeist? Where you even got the name from, and why did you decide to do storytelling instead of like more reactionary content, album reviews, stuff like that?
Well, guys, that's actually a great way to ask that question. Because I think,
Yeah, what up, Sam?
no, thank you. No one's ever asked it that way. Uh, well, I started the channel in 2017, so I don't know if you guys were watching music content in 2017. I mean, there wasn't a lot. Basically, um, that was not a space yet. There was
Mhm.
Anthony Fantano, and that was kind of it in terms of people who had actually built a brand doing that. There were hobbyists, but like it wasn't the industry that it is now. And so Volksgeist, I didn't have a vision. I did not have a vision for it to be what it is today because what it is today didn't exist then. Um,
Mhm.
but what I really wanted was I wanted to have like a creative outlet, not a. The idea wasn't to build a brand because honestly, in 2017 it was kind of that. I didn't do much that year. In 2018, even though like the influencer industry wasn't like an industry, obviously they were super popular, like everyone knew about social media. It was just like 5 years ago, but like
Yeah.
it wasn't like everybody had a small micro brand or a little brand, or even like Volksgeist being on the smaller side still, like
Mhm.
that was not like you wouldn't make money off that. And so I just wanted to develop my skills of like being analytical or like speaking my mind. I wanted to get a lot better at speaking. I wanted to get a lot better at, I wanted to make videos or short films or have a creative video outlet. And so that was literally it. There was no kind of idea that it would become something that could actually make money or that other people would be doing that too. Um, so I just was like, oh, I just want to be better at writing things. I'm going to write about a couple songs that I like and
Yeah.
stuff. Um, and in terms of not doing more reactionary stuff, I mean, it's just like I thought that if I got good at making those videos, I could turn that into like a work experience. And I
Mhm.
don't know what job you get by yelling loudly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's probably a few, but I just think that the more reactionary stuff, there's an art to it, but it's just too cheap.
100%.
It can be
Mhm.
very cheap, because it's just really easy. I wanted to learn, like I saw it as an
Yeah.
opportunity to learn. So that was
Yeah. I think people, especially when they talk about like sports radio and like say someone like Colin Coward or Stephen A. Smith, they hate them. But as someone who has really got into the podcasting game, I've learned to really enjoy the like, art of making a take versus the actual take itself,
yeah,
which I think is interesting. So some people, I think being only a reactionary channel makes you have to react to stuff that you don't even actually care about. So you kind of have to put on the act.
right.
So I respect that you have kind of went away from that to make like amazing content. And I'm curious how you decide what content to make. Is it artists you're loving right now? Have you decided like, oh, a J. Cole video, just another J. Cole video, so maybe I should stray away from that and shine a light on someone who's a smaller artist? So how do you decide that?
Well, I think I've at first it was like I wanted to, for the first 2 years, I was trying to like build this kind of catalog of videos covering every important artist. And I eventually realized like there's a lot of important artists I don't give a shit about, so I'm not going to cover them, because I tried a few times to cover things that I didn't really feel that passionate for, and I think that people could tell. So I kind of changed, and there was a low period in the channel's history where I was covering topics just because they were interesting, but not because I was interested in them. And I realized that that's not how some channels can do that, but like the channel really does depend on me being able to tell a good story or write a good story. So I moved more into, in the last 2 years, covering things as long as I see a good story that I want to tell. So I've actually had great success covering things that are fairly to moderately obscure, just off me framing it in an entertaining way. Now I've had to change the packaging a lot. I used to do like Understanding Frank Ocean, and I can still do that, but like I'm trying to make it like half and half. Nujabe's not a lot of search volume for him online. Not a lot of people talk about him. So I called it the Japanese man who changed hip hop forever, because even if you don't know who he is, you're going to click on that. Or for Nick Drake, like a super obscure folk singer who had a really interesting story, but no one talks about him. I had to call it like the Van Gogh of music. So I'm trying to go more into like, choosing really good topics instead of like chasing views. But I also try to talk about like topical things. When Utopia came out, I did a Travis Scott video, because it's a good time to do that. I still would do it anyway, but there's an element where like the search volume goes up. I mean, you cover it at a good time. So it's kind of it's basically half and half, like quality, but also quantity.
Yeah. I think we try to balance that as well. So like we had a Travis Scott video do fairly well for like what we consider doing fairly well right now. And we had to decide, does that mean we should make more Travis Scott content, or was that because it was timely content? We should be making more timely content. So that's always debate. And also knowing the length of videos. So you make relatively long form content on YouTube, which some would say in this age is dying, but your account's flourishing doing that. So I'm curious how you kind of like debated how long videos should be, and then the actual research process, because people do not know how much work you put in, because they're like 30 minutes. That must be 30 minutes of work or something, but it's hours on hours.
Yeah, I mean, well, in terms of video length, I've had some long videos this year. Originally, like if you look at my most viewed videos, anything with over 1 million is like 10 minutes long or less. But I don't think anyone has an appetite for that anymore. I think it's like you either make it 2 minutes long or under 60 seconds and it's like a short, or on TikTok, or it's going to be like 25 minutes or more. I don't think there's a lot of room for a 5-minute video anymore, because people either want a lot of information or they want no information. So you have to, I feel like it's become more polarizing. So actually earlier this year, I was hanging around 20 minutes a lot of the time, but then I was like, let's push to 30. And we did, and some of those videos did really well. The Weeknd video is like 45 minutes long. It has like 600K views. My Kendrick Lamar video was 30 minutes long. It has like 600K views. I think I pushed it too far. My Travis Scott video was like 1 hour and 5 minutes, and that didn't. It's like sitting under 100K. So I like pulled it back a little bit, just to work more on the editing and the storytelling. But I do think, I mean, you also make a lot more money from a longer video, to be completely honest. The ad rate goes through the roof. So like, and that just makes it more worth it to make the video itself. But yeah, in terms of research, I mean, that is like writing and research takes a really long time. Unfortunately, in the last few months, because of the popularity of ChatGPT, I've started to get like comments here and there that are like, this is a fucking ChatGPT ass script. Who wrote this shit? Your computer? And I'm like, I talked to other YouTubers and they're like, yeah, we get those comments too. Because I think people are like, it's like writing a script probably takes 4 days of working all day. I research while I write generally, but I write like detailed outlines as well beforehand. So there's a lot of watching interviews and stuff goes into that. And no, I'm still trying to beat the Wikipedia allegations. I do not use Wikipedia to write a script. That doesn't make any sense to me. I go on Wikipedia and click on sources, and then follow those if I need to. But like
Yeah.
the Wikipedia chat GPT allegations are crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway that what we heard you say was just how much we evolve. I know a lot of times when people are starting any type of creative endeavor, it's like, okay, what should I make? Where should I start? The most important thing is just starting. And even like you said, you did one form of content and you kind of changed to another. You're doing a little bit more mainstream artists and you went to artists that are unknown. And I remember there's like this YouTube video that me and Adam both watched, basically like how to blow up on YouTube. But it's just like every time you grow as a channel or a group, eventually you're going to keep evolving and find something new to make. And that's not always based on the fans or even what you want to make, but sometimes you might find it later on, like a self-discovery type of thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I tried a lot of different topics.
Mm.
You know, I covered like a lot of different things, and eventually I was like, well, what do I like the most? Well, I like music, mainly hip hop, with a lot of other things. I try to cover a lot of different stuff, but I mean, I just think, well, hip hop right now has the most interesting stories. Like,
Hmm.
for better or for worse, other genres don't have the lore and the community. Um,
Yeah.
but there are other good, you know, I've covered a few folk artists, a couple of indie, you know, I've covered Daft Punk a few times and it did really well. But it's just, you know, wherever the good stories are and I've kind of honed in on, like, I think the most interesting stuff in terms of the music industry and music artists. So
Yeah. And to bounce off about the whole GPT thing too, AI is a huge thing going on right now. And as a content creator, how do you feel about Chat GTP? How do you feel about it being used? Is it a good thing, a bad thing? Can it be resourceful?
I think it can. There are a few times like, I have known what I want to make a video about. And in order to start writing, I need to have a 250 word kind of summary of what the story is.
Yeah.
So I have asked it, like, write me a 250-word outline of a story about this thing. And then I'm like, okay, well, now it makes more sense in my head. But that's kind of as far as it goes. I just don't think it kind of, the writing isn't super original. So I wouldn't actually be able to use that for a script because the storytelling is pretty bad. So I
Yeah.
like, that's kind of, it's the most I can use it for. It's just little outlines here and there. Um, I don't use AI editors or anything. They're imprecise. Like, there's a lot of mistakes usually,
Yeah.
and that works for short clips and TikToks and stuff, but not for a 30-minute video.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to doubt AI's future capabilities, but right now it's not some type of creative software that is going to make your content creative. But I like that you touched on the outline thing because I think that's very helpful actually. And that could be helpful for a student trying to start an essay and like not knowing what each paragraph should be about, or someone actually doing like creative content like this. I think that it's really helpful with efficiency. So also like for naming videos, if you have an idea what a video is, but you're like, what is the best SEO? What's going to reach the most people? It actually helps you get a better title.
Yeah.
So I think those small things have been helpful as a creator.
Yeah, I mean, things that you know already kind of could be done without like creative input. And it's not, yeah, like uncreative things basically, like, you
Yeah.
know, it can't structure coherent long essay. Like, it just doesn't,
Yeah.
because I just don't think it has enough information, or it doesn't, like, the writing isn't good enough. But it's okay for certain things. Um, a lot of people on like Twitter and all this are like talking about, start an AI YouTube channel, you'll make six figures within 2 months. No, unfortunately, I think most people are smart enough to realize they're watching an AI video and click off of it because it's
Yeah.
just not interesting or entertaining. Um,
Yeah. My cousin posted something on LinkedIn and my brothers were like, we know you put that on AI because he kept throwing in random emojis throughout your
yeah,
post. Because apparently ChatGPT is big on throwing in emojis. So I was also curious, I'm not sure if you're like an analytics nerd about your videos, but I'm curious, how long does it say your viewers usually average staying on your videos? Like, do they usually make it to 45 minutes of 60-minute types of videos?
I don't think most people will. Like, I don't watch. I never
Yeah.
finish a 60-minute video. Um, but it does, like, they do reasonably. I think the longer a video gets, the lower that percentage will be. Um,
Yeah.
on a 30-minute video, it's probably like 40% get halfway. I think, is that how that works? 40% get halfway. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
something like that. Which is good enough. Like, I definitely trying to hone down the editing and make like the first 10 minutes a lot more tight in a lot of the videos, and kind of, you
Hmm.
know, get a couple more hooks and keep people engaged. I've had a few fails. Like, I've had some longer videos where it was only like 25%, but that was also, you know, it
Yeah.
depends on the topic. Like the Yeet video, that was a lot more kids, so a lot less people are going to finish it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like the new Jabez video is a lot more adults, like older, over 30, so they're going to finish it because they have brain cells. So like, it's like things like that, like, but I do look at it. I don't think it guides all my business decisions, but I look at it.
Yeah. And we really appreciate you for sharing this too, because I know a lot of people are looking to start a channel. I mean, they look up to you in terms of getting, if they're in the music content creator space, you're one of the big dogs out here. But another thing you're doing is Watch Nebula, which I thought was so interesting, obviously as the co-founder. But I wanted to give a platform for you to talk about that and how that works.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Nebula is a very big project. Like, me being a co-founder means that I was in the room when we started it. But in terms of like steering the ship, I mean, there are something like 70 corporate employees who build the platform and like do all that. I have input on like executive things, but Nebula is it's a paid platform, so it's just a regular streaming service where it's invite only, kind of a private community where there are 150 something creators, and they can post all their videos on there. But because of that extra revenue, Nebula also invests in making Nebula exclusive stuff for more engaged people. For me, there are a million things I could do on there. I could have my own podcast show, music reviewing thing where I can play as much music as I want, never get the videos taken down, this and that. But mainly, every few months I just put out an exclusive video that, I mean, genuinely, like, not marketing speak, just wouldn't work on YouTube. Like the last one I did was about like music performers who beat their fans or whatever during the show. So that was kind of like, something that I'm not going to put that on YouTube. And it's been good. I mean, people who care about the content invest in the platform, and it's relatively cheap, but each view that I get on there is worth 100 times more than a view I would get on YouTube. So it's just an extra way to like offer value to the audience. But it's for people who want to support. I don't expect I'll ever get 350,000 subscribers on there, because most people really turn me on and think, oh, this is cool, and then turn it off. Like, it's for the people who have something to say and care. So
I think we're in the era of community building over, like, we kind of touched on this last episode, that there's no more global icons and superstars, but it's forming these like small communities. So there's been artists that I've seen be creative with it. I mean, we saw Logic, even though he got rid of his Discord, he has a small community that's formed of people who really love him and are investing in him, and he's giving them behind the scenes content. Or someone like Marlon Craft, who's an independent artist, having fans get early entry to his concert or stuff like that. Or even on Twitter, you see Team Dreamville is a huge account, because Dreamville has formed this community of artists that have spawned fans who have such a similar music taste. That I think that's like the new route creatives are going.
yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I don't think a lot of that's kind of an early adopter perspective right now. I don't think a lot of people in the general public have realized that. But I get, let's say I have, like, my sisters are older than me, and they don't really know what the hell I do for a living. But there's like, oh, he's a YouTuber, but I don't. They're like, put a video on, and I'm like, you're not gonna understand it. This isn't like a unboxing sneakers vlog, or like something where it's like everybody knows what this is. It's a very niche, kind of obscure thing that like requires prior explanation to even understand what you're watching. Well, not because it's like so above their level, but it's just like, it's not relevant to them. They don't know what the format is. They don't know what I'm talking about. But if you asked, like, if I were a YouTuber like 10 years ago, it'd be like anybody could, like Shane Dawson, he'd do videos of him eating tacos and talking about like cats or something. Like everyone. So that's kind of like the word YouTuber to me now means that you provide videos about a specific interest. For the most part, that's what a YouTuber is. You commentate or offer value in one niche or the other. And that's, it's true. I think it's true in general. We haven't had a lot of superstars blow up. A lot of, in music or otherwise. There are not a lot of Gen Z rappers. There are not a lot of Gen Z actors or authors. But there are people who do that stuff in small doses, which I think is better for the most part. Like, and another like personal anecdote, I have old friends who are like, well, what do you do now? And I'm like, well, I have a business where I make videos. I'm not a YouTuber. Like, you're not going to go see pictures of me and my face is everywhere on YouTube, and like I have 10 million subscribers, because no one watches that shit anymore. Like real truly, like other than Mr. Beast and a few others, name a YouTuber, like an actual
That's, like, huge
YouTuber.
like that.
Like there's not really, who cares about those anymore? You know, so I think I kind of prefer that, because I get to be my own person, and I'm on YouTube like providing a specific thing, and then I don't have to have that be my entire identity. I can have like other things.
Yeah.
And I think you know, a lot of my YouTuber friends are also kind of in the same boat. Even people who are much more popular. Like I'm friends with the guy Legal Eagle, who's like the YouTube lawyer guy who does like law commentary on famous cases. And it's like he's a normal guy. There's no paparazzi coming after him, because he talks about law. Like no one knows where he lives or what he's doing in his personal life, and that's just the icon status is that's mostly gone. But I think it's like, personally, I prefer that. I never wanted that, and you know, I'm glad that I don't have to do that to get where I'm trying to go in business.
Yeah. And I think that's just the thing we've seen post-COVID, especially. Just the fact that it's really hard to kind of get into this mainstream space. And I think that's just because a lot of people don't care anymore. And I know that sounds bad, but it's just the truth. Even when it comes to music, I remember there was an interview with Vince Staples and Joe Budden, and he talked about music is low-key dying. I know Adam hates this term because he doesn't believe music is dying, but I'm on the bandwagon where just creative content in general, there's just so much content out there. It's just hard for me to care about one specific thing unless you're able to create a niche community. And like I said before, I think COVID for music was a huge turning point, how we consume it. And now just looking at 2023 as a whole, and we can start talking about the music. How do you think the industry has held up so far in 2023 in terms of releases?
Well, I think there's been a lot of good stuff. I think there's a bit less good stuff, but you know, I don't think music is dying. I don't think, you know, hip hop will never die. It's not gonna, but like, you know, I think the energy a lot of energy is gone, unfortunately, and a lot of the stars that were around when I first started my channel, they're just not doing what they were doing 5 years ago. They're just inactive, and there's no replacement coming for, like, no one's asking for a new Kanye. No one's asking for a new Kendrick.
Yeah.
People just aren't asking for that. Like the general public really doesn't give a shit, because a lot of the major space that those stars took up is replaced by like garbage now. No offense to, but it's just like one and done hits. But there are, you know, people who are doing really valuable stuff, and they have a lot of supporters around them, and people who will like patronize their art. Like one of my favorite rappers is Ka, like Ka, and he's like not popular. I mean, no one cares about him or gives a shit. Like, but his fans love him. Like he did a pop-up in Brooklyn a few weeks ago, and people were like lined up around the block to buy his vinyls, even though his songs have usually like 50,000 streams on Spotify each, and that's not really, but like he's doing well. He's doing great. He has like he lives in a really nice condo and like can do whatever he wants and doesn't have to work a job. And so it's like, that's fine. Like, but yeah, there's no, in terms of like ground shaking iconic music, I don't think there's a lot of that being made.
And to your last point, I think that goes back to some artists maybe making music for fame and some artists making music because they love making the music. And it's a debate. Would you rather have 50,000 streams or 50 fans who are physically going to your concert and buying merchandise? I'd rather have 50 fans physically go to my concerts. I've been to like an Action Bronson pop-up, and there are fans down the street. But obviously he's a show. He's a bigger personality. But we talked about Denzel Curry last episode. People flame him for his first week sales. He's selling out every single tour that he's going on. And I think that's a much better way to make your music now, is making that small community of fans truly dedicated to you versus just casually listening to you or passing you on TikTok, and they never go to click that song and actually purchase that artist's music.
Yeah, that's how it's been for a lot of, well, that's how it's always been. Like, you know, if you look back at I guess before the 60s, there were musicians that people liked, but the music industry wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite artists is Robert Johnson, I think his name was. He was a blues artist from the 30s, maybe. And like he had a career performing, but like didn't really record any songs, and like I think he recorded like 18 songs while he was alive, but he traveled around and played. So, you know, and that's kind of a similar thing. Like And that's almost more real. Like, do I want to really go in front of a camera and be like, "Oh, you wouldn't believe what Young Thug said today," and then the thing he said was like "slat slime," and I'm like, "Oh, what is he gonna say next?" I don't like. Okay, I had a brief time running the YouTube channel for Rap TV, and I directed and like narrated and edited. I mean, just almost did everything for them for a couple months, maybe 4 or 5, and like the topic, they would give me these topics, and I was like, guys, no one's gonna care about this. Like, how much money does Future spend in a week? And it would be just some BuzzFeed ass. And it's like no one watched it because no one actually cares about that. It just does.
It's like Blueface being all over my Twitter.
Right.
I don't care about this content. Is he even considered like a musician at this point? I don't know why he's all over my
think he's
Twitter.
made a song in years. I think he just tweets and makes stupid videos. I don't know.
Yeah, but Rob Markman was saying the same thing. If you saw that video, Adam, where he was kind of criticizing hip hop media, not only hip hop as the genre for 2023, but the media just reporting on goofy content when there's a lot of incredible artists, like you're saying, Philip, who are in that underground space who may not be getting the same light. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because they do have the community of real fans. And that's what's going to bolster you forward, not thousands to even millions of streams of just a bunch of random people who don't really care about what you have to say at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do agree. And I think it's almost like, sometimes it feels like that has almost happened because the media has gotten so goofy about it. Like I do, like I scroll through YouTube shorts and stuff, and I saw this one video a couple days ago that was like, this is so bad. The title was "The Dreaded 16-Year-Old," and it was a picture of Chief Keef. And I click on it, and it's this guy, and he kind of looked like me, but he was like, "You wouldn't believe the dreaded 16-year-old Chief Keef. He was evil and lived in O Block." And I was like, man, this is like a copy of a copy of a copy of some video. And like, the word dreaded really stuck out to me. Dreaded? Like, was he like hanging people up by their underwear from telephone poles or something? And I just was, and it had 1 million views. I was like, what is that? Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's he didn't talk anything about the music, or he was like, he always said he was 300 years old in every interview. And I'm like, you're just repeating something that you saw. I just was like, damn, this has gotten really silly. And I kind of, I was like, do I need to even have Volksgeist anymore? Like, what the hell? What's the point of all of this?
Yeah. And there's another debate that we have, and people have a lot, and I don't mean to offend any artists, but there's a thing of artists versus rappers. Like, there's a lot of rappers, but there's not a lot of artists, if you know what I mean. And you have one of my favorite videos from you is Tyler, the creator of the next Kanye video. And I know it ends with, not to spoil it for listeners, they do have big differences. Like, Tyler won't reach that mainstream audience. But what I think Tyler does so well is this other content that goes along with his music, whether it be the short films he's kind of releasing along with his music. So there's other artists that I wanted to shout out that do something similar. And I was curious what artists you've seen kind of take that blueprint of making themselves not just a musician, but like multimedia type artists. So like Tiara Whack, when she came out, making that 10-minute album, and each song was 1 minute, and it's awesome. It's really sick. And we've seen just so many artists kind of take that idea that Donald Glover writes a whole screenplay to go along with because of the internet and stuff like that. So what are artists you've seen that have kind of done that whole multimedia?
Well, I think there are a lot of artistic rappers who don't do multimedia, and and they can also create a really immersive experience either way. A lot of the underground rappers these days don't do a lot of multimedia, but like, because I don't know, they don't have the budget or they're not interested in it, but they still like Ka is one. His albums are incredibly immersive and very unique.
Yep.
And obviously a lot of his peers like Rock Marciano, or going a tier above that would be like West Side Gun, and their stuff is super artistic because they're just, like, they seem well read. They're well read people, and they put a lot of different like imagery into the lyrics. So I would say is that right now, that's my favorite type. Like, I haven't listened to Tyler in months or anything because I've been more into like the guys who create like a world of words. And I think, I mean, there's a lot, even like I've been obsessed with Lil Durk's Almost Healed album because I actually think the themes on that are really good. It's not really like I know why it was fairly like unsuccessful because it's super long and every song sounds the same. But like the themes, he actually had a vision for what that album was all about.
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms of like what is not artistic in the rap game. I mean, like just I mean it's hard. Like a lot of it. I mean, almost all of it is, I think. But there are some examples that have gotten so popular that aren't. And I mean, who am I to say? Like, as long as it seems like it's coming from the heart, it's fairly artistic.
Yeah.
But there's some times where like something gets really big, and I'm like, damn, this person does not seem to have any heart in this at all. Um,
Yeah.
and I get like but it's also like maybe they just want to be a good rapper, and this doesn't matter to them what comes out of their mouth. Like Rob 49, do you guys know him? Like the guy from he was on Utopia. And,
Yeah.
like I mean, you listen to his songs.
I did not like that verse.
I love that.
I that ruins the song for me. I do not listen to that song.
I love that. I mean, he has like every song he has is basically sounds exactly like that. Like he kind of like growls and screams and says things you've never heard before in your life. And I've been trying to decide. I've been very interested in it because I'm like, is this artistic or is he literally just trying to make a bunch of money?
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to decide yet. So like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think an issue is we see a lot of writing trends right now. So the biggest trend is this whole sample 2000s music and make a new song out of it, which has been a thing forever. But I think that's one of the lazy forms of music we're seeing right now. Yeah. Where I don't need these Pharrell beats or anything repurposed.
I think the most egregious example would be drill music. That is a genre where there are like 3 good artists and 100 terrible ones. And I mean, yeah, it's a more localized thing. So people see someone from their city go like blow up with that, and then they all start doing it. So I get like that has been people who love drill. I'm like, do you really like? How much do you actually love this? Because it's pretty fucking bad. That is one example where I would say like a lot of that stuff is not particularly artistic. It's just very like repetitive and uncreative.
Yeah, drill hasn't captured my attention.
Yeah, I mean it's very morbid too. Like one of the biggest things that happened in the Bronx last year was like some 14-year-old kid gets murdered, and then everyone wants to do dances about it. Like, guys, think about
it's crazy.
Just think about that. That's dark. It's not really.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting you said drill too, because I remember there's a point, especially with Fabio Foreign. I think he was kind of like the last big drill artist to come. And now that I look around, drill isn't as popular as it used to be. And even just to answer, and also I don't want to hit on drill too much because I don't love drill, but I also don't want to shit on it either. But I think a lot of times why artists don't express themselves to the fullest, like I said before, I don't think consumers care, and to spend that budget to make this complex music video or marketing scheme isn't really gonna help when you can just build an audience on your own. And you're talking about Travis Scott, who did I think a great job with Utopia. We had Bryce over who talked about his concert and how he's kind of doing the same thing with Astro World, while he's just presenting the album in a more creative way. And obviously we had a lot of big artists drop this year. We had Lil Uzi, we had Travis Scott, even Drake did. So how do you think those albums played well this year?
Oh man. Oh, one thing I was thinking about, the artistic versus the UK artists are some of the most artistic right now.
Oh,
they're writing.
Lil Sims?
Yeah. Oof. The writing that they put in, I don't know if their school system is better or what, but they just are like the effort that goes into all the storytelling and everything is great. They're very hardworking. In terms of 2023, man, I don't know. Like with the big albums, like the look.
Yeah, I mean Travis dropped, right? Drake dropped. All the artists people are begging for, they drop. So why all the sad and gloom?
Yeah. And the crazy part is the Travis Scott album. I would say it's a good album, and I don't care about it.
Yeah, I want to.
And it wasn't bad.
The Pink Tape was bad.
That was bad. That's not for me.
It is bad. There are about 4 good songs out of 25 or 35 songs or whatever. For All the Dogs,
he's shooting 10%.
For All the Dogs is really bad. That is like, I didn't even bother to make a review video. I try to review the big albums because it's fun.
Yeah.
But that was not even, I was like, I just got bored. I haven't listened to it all the way through because it's just so boring. There's a few good ones. I think Tried Our Best is nice.
Good song.
That one was good. But like, and then obviously the one with SZA, both of them with SZA were good. But like, oh my God, the one with Bad Bunny, where he's
So bad.
he's like just like he's like asleep at the wheel, man. I mean, I like
Yeah.
a lot of what Drake has done since Views, even though people have, oh, he's fell off really bad. Like I like More Life. I kind of like Certified Lover Boy. I really loved.
Grown on me.
Honestly, Nevermind grew on me really like pretty well. But this is terrible, man. I mean, it's like, no, it's not like I could do better, but like, it's, geez, man. Utopia, I got bored of. I actually really loved it for like a month, and then I completely forgot about it, and it just, I was like, what? Like, nah, it's just, I think.
So in summary, the consumers, we just don't care.
Yeah,
That's what I'm hearing.
yeah.
At the end of the day.
Unfortunately, like, actually, I think well, for Utopia, I'm looking at the track list right now, like, I think Travis just didn't really rap that well on it. Like, I listened to it 2 months later now, or 3 months later. I'm like, damn, like his performances were pretty slow and boring. Like, a few of them were good, but and then he included 21 Savage on it way too much. I'm like totally sick of that guy. No offense. I mean, he's hardworking, talented, but like, damn.
I liked Her Loss. Actually, I really enjoyed it as like a gym album I would play, but I don't need him on all of these songs. I think a current issue in music is too many beat changes. I've said this in the pod before, but it sounds like YouTuber's not in the studio and he had a beat and a song and he was like throws on the end of the song.
Yeah.
But to frame a more positive question, what albums upcoming are you very excited for? Because we have the fallout from J. Cole, which has been teased since 2018. I think that's awesome how he's building this like world that's going towards the end, which it probably won't be his end. No Worries. Anderson .Paak needed him to drop that with Knowledge because he's teased that for a while. A$AP Rocky said August, and I don't know what happened to that one, but that he's someone who's an art like
another kid, man.
Truly makes art around it. Yeah, another kid. I mean, if I could be with Rihanna, I guess I would stop dropping music as well.
Well, I think for Rocky,
what's on your radar?
Like, I'm really excited for that because I'm like the biggest meat rider for A$AP Rocky. Like,
he's great.
J. Cole, I don't know. But Rocky, like a lot of the songs he's put out in the last few years, I have really liked a lot. I think honestly, people are not gonna like it. It's probably gonna be another version of Testing, but I'm gonna like it.
I can see that.
I'm gonna like it because I love Testing. I think it's one of the best, like one of my favorite albums that came out that year.
Same here. It's
really ASAP good. Forever, the song, is one of my favorites ever.
Yeah,
that music video is also the coolest music video of all time.
The atmosphere on that project, like the songs like 143rd, like Guns and Butter, they're all really good. Purity with Frank Ocean. So I thought that was a great like creative success for him, even though it wasn't like what people were asking for. But he's probably going to do that again. Like the singles he's put out are not what people are asking for, but I still like them.
I liked Riot. You hear the Tyler version?
No.
With Riot?
No.
There's a I honestly thought it was really good. I thought Tyler sounded great on it. I also like Shit in Me was really good. I'm trying to think at the top of my head the other one. One was a really slow song, which I was surprised he dropped as a single.
Yeah, it was Same Problems.
Yeah, that could have been like just a deep album cut. I'm curious why he thought that as a single.
No, that's confusing. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think he might not have any idea what he's doing anymore, but I'm still here for it. So like,
yeah.
But I also think it's more so that why should he care anymore? He already has his fan base, and no matter what he drops, people will enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right? So he's got, so I feel like he doesn't have to cater to anyone. If he wants to make a slow ballad, then he can go ahead and do that, and he can still drop an album. But I don't think that's going to be on the album, though, because there's been a long delay between the single and this album whenever it drops. But come on, who else? Who else are you excited for? Who else dropped this year that you like? There's got to be something.
There's got to be something. I think, SZA's next project I want to hear because she said there's a deluxe coming soon. And I really love SOS. So SOS is the last mainstream album that I thought was like really great, which is almost a year ago.
She actually said that the deluxe is going to have like 20 songs. Just make it a different album. Oh. What are we doing?
Well, then it's probably never going to happen. So,
yeah.
But in terms of like, look, guys, like, it's in a rough spot, right? We're in a rough spot right now, man. We're in a rough spot. We really are. Like, I heard, I'm actually looking for, like, Sade said that they were making a new album like 4 years ago. So I've actually been waiting for that for 4 years.
Sade.
Like, I really mean, like, in terms of like things that have hype around it, like, it's not that much. Like,
oh, I got one. And it's his birthday today. Happy birthday to JID. JID Metro album.
Yeah, I mean,
that's gonna be
that will be great. I don't know if that's actually gonna happen though. feel like Metro and JID are in like different pay grades, and I don't know if that's I don't know if they're actually gonna drop.
That's why it was so cool to see them like kind of tease that it was even happening. So I'm like, oh, that's sick for JID that Metro would do that. Also, JID has some always interesting production with Christo, his producer. Like he's never rapping on just normal beats. So I think Metro would actually be a really cool pairing for him.
No, that would be great. I'm a huge JID meat rider. But
that's like my top. Because Cole, then probably JID for me.
I mean JID is he's so great. Yeah, it'd be cool to see what he does next. The Forever story really grew on me. I didn't get it at first. I still think there are a few songs I don't get, but it did become like I started to really like it. I got a lot of hate. I give it like a 6 in a review, and people were like,
"Yeah, not to put you on the spot, but I'm curious what songs you didn't get." Because I'll say a lot of them were like teased before, like during his like Vanderbilt live stream during COVID and stuff. So I knew like 5 of them before it happened. Like Radar, I was ready for that song.
Radar is one of the ones I didn't get.
What?
Yeah.
That laser radar beam.
It was cool, but then
I got a secret play for your mama. I got a secret play for
it was cool for like 30 seconds. Yeah.
That goes hard for me in the gym.
But I think
I'm surprised by your J. Cole take, because I know Adam is a huge J. Cole fan. Of course, a lot of people love J. Cole. I love J. Cole, but Adam is like the biggest fan you can find. But why aren't you excited for J. Cole? I mean, J. Cole to me right now is the number 1 rapper. The features he's been doing, he's been killing. The one on the Drake album, I mean, come on, that had to be a highlight. And even the one with Yachty, The Secret Recipe, that was also, come on, excellent.
I gotta tell you guys something.
Man, they're gonna flame me in the comments.
Don't you come from my goat?
I have ignored any and all requests for a J. Cole video for the entire existence of the channel because I've just never listened to his albums. Actually, none of them.
They're about 2014.
None of them. Never listened to it.
You never listened to it, or you just haven't like gotten into it?
I've never listened to it, man. I've heard a few J. Cole songs.
Why?
We're talking like I've heard like 7 J. Cole songs. Like maybe.
What's going? You listen to so much music. What's kept you off of J. Cole?
At this point, like, I mean, look,
and you're a Kendrick fan.
I'm a stubborn guy, so I'm just not doing it because it's been this long, and I'm like, well, why would I start now? Like, but I feel like J. Cole is
go bum for your eyes.
Well, I feel like a lot of it's something that you get into when you're younger, almost. Like he's almost like the Pink Floyd of rap. I feel like if I didn't listen to him when I was 16, I'm not gonna get it now that I'm 24. It's just not gonna make sense.
Okay.
I get what you mean with certain artists. Why it's if you didn't get into them when you were younger, you're not ever gonna get into them when you're older. But Cole, I actually think he matures so much on his albums that like if you listen to him and his mixtape days, but then you had a kid, like for Your Eyes Only, you would love because he's talking about like his kid, and like very mature content. Like he's made fun of for folding clothes, even though it's a great song.
Yeah,
but
you said that's not convincing, man.
No,
I need you to listen. Then we're gonna bring you back. We're gonna get you a full opinion on Cole.
I'm planning if I ever decide to listen to him, I'll do a video about listening to him for the first time. I think people will think that's funny. I don't know how.
Bro, we need you on Turning the Tables with the guy and his dad, and you listening to his album for the first time.
He just followed me on Twitter like a week ago, so I'll reach out and ask him. Like, I don't know if they do collabs, but that would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I think
that's crazy. I'm shocked.
Oh, I wanted to mention about the Forever story. There was.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry. We got derailed by Dreamville.
No, yeah. The Lil Durk song actually was really good. That was probably the best one in the album.
I really like his features. The more I think,
he kills it.
Brud and them, like I love that feature. It was great.
Yeah, he just brought a different thing that he's never done before. So I think to me that really proved that he actually really is a talented artist. And then I got into him more after that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, J. Cole, man. He seems nice. Maybe I'll get it one day.
You attempted to listen to this new Drake album, but you haven't listened.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. I'm
shocked.
That's some self torture right there. Honestly,
are you a Mac Miller fan?
Yeah, I am. I mean,
okay.
I can be. He's got some good projects. I haven't listened to all of them. I'll probably never listen to like the Divine Feminine. I don't feel an urge to listen to that, or the one. They're kind of like the middle ones. The later ones and the early ones are really good, but
yeah.
I think he had a period that I've just never been interested in.
So who are your top artists?
My top artist?
I guess Kanye.
He can be, but like, it comes and goes. Right now, I have listened to Graduation a lot this year. Late Registration, I've listened to a lot this year.
That's the best one.
probably The Life of Pablo. I listen to a lot. I have a lot of respect for a lot of Kanye, but like, am I gonna listen to Yeezus like on like driving in my car? No, not really. Like, I haven't.
Yeah.
I think there are Kanye fans who love him and everything he's ever done, and they want to listen to his music every day. But no, it's like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think Graduation is the only one I could ever like listen to every day, probably. Um, but obviously, they're unparalleled. The quality of those albums is unparalleled. But like,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that I need to hear it constantly because it's not that.
Yeah.
I do like stupid music also. I don't need to listen to
Yeah.
the best thing all the time.
Yeah. So who are your goats?
I would say like, well, Kanye obviously, Kendrick obviously, Good Kid, Mad City. I can listen to every day. That's that album. Like, if I could only listen to one, it would be Good Kid, Mad City. But recently, I mean, let me look here. I've been listening to a lot of Dave and Central C. I think those guys really could be like top 10 of all time for me.
Really, already for Central C. It's out to him.
Yeah, I mean, people will make fun of me for that, but like, I don't. I'm allowed to have
like
opinions.
what you like.
Yeah, I'm allowed to have opinions. The Weeknd is like someone that I like, unparalleled. One of the best artists. Like, I think he's never done anything wrong.
I'm a hater.
Really? Well, would you say
he's my best friend is a diehard fan. Like, knows every fact about him, and this is confusing because I do like Brent Faiyaz, but I don't like really super silky voices.
Yeah,
I like raspy voices, which goes into like my Cole love or like Anderson .Paak love.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes a lot of sense. I think his early stuff and then his newer stuff. Like Starboy is a skip for the whole album, so I'm not like obsessed with The Weeknd. I fucking hate that album. It's so boring. But like After Hours is unparalleled. Like, I love when mainstream artists bring stranger sound, like stranger ideas or more obscure ideas into something that's like more mainstream. That's also why I love SZA, because like if you look at her evolution over the years, she kind of sounded so different than she does now. Like 10 years ago, it was completely like indie pop, weird like dubstep songs that were not that good. But then, but I still love them because she had her voice.
Actually, listening to Championships the other day, that album Trauma. If he could just get the right beats for a whole album, he would have a full classic that's known by everyone because he's so good at rapping when he's like rapping like Trauma or Oodles and Noodles.
Yep.
But then he goes like Going Bad and like those types of songs.
Yeah, he makes a lot of shit. But if you listen to the mixtape DC4, that's probably his best project. It's really good. Unfortunately, I think his window is closed. He's probably not gonna. He's probably done.
Hey, we'll see about this Rick Ross album. Maybe Ross.
Yeah, that's one album I'm really looking forward to. Man, these
Forgot
tapes are
about
gonna
that
get you flamed, my guy. This is crazy. But I'm really excited for the Rick and Meek album, though, for real.
That's gonna be good. And Tyler, I assume you're a big fan of.
Tyler, I grew out of, guys.
Really?
Yep. I have no interest in Tyler, the Creator, anymore. I don't know why. I completely grew
Maybe
out.
Philip is ahead of the curve. I'm telling you, because I kind of feel what he's saying. Like, I'm kind of seeing it for myself, and it's not even just this Brent album that I'm still waiting to get to. It's like I don't know. It's just I still love music, of course, but just the wanting and the caring just to get to it as soon as possible. I mean, maybe in the future people might not be so crazy for these big artists. So I mean, maybe he's ahead of the curve.
I mean, I think
I love Tyler.
In terms of, I have a few other takes for my GOAT artists. All right, I'm going to throw these at you guys. All right, I get like 4 or 5. Lana Del Rey, Pop Smoke.
Never even tried.
Never tried. Okay. Lana Del
Never
Rey,
tried Lana Del Rey.
Pop Smoke, Babyface Ray.
Love his voice.
He's great, right? Like, he's amazing.
He's funny.
42 Doug.
Okay, you don't like Tyler? Do you like him on Lemonhead?
He was good on that. That was a good song. I could
Cargo
listen to that. And
you got lucky.
Who else? That was 4. I don't know. I mean, those are good. Those are good. NBA YoungBoy, okay. And then here's one I hate: Kid Cudi.
This is all. Just name the Tyler album. You don't like Kid Cudi.
Don't play Kid Cudi when I'm in the room. I will jump on the speaker and turn it off.
Even Man on the Moon 1 and 2.
No, I was like 9 years old when that came out. Anybody who says that those were good is like, that's fake nostalgia. We were children. That doesn't.
Soundtrack to My Life is like the best song ever.
No, it's like the worst song ever.
and Ghost on the second one, great song.
Well, I think to some degree I have those opinions because it's like I don't want to be like every other like music fan who's just like I
him
love
everything.
Kid Cudi. I listen to him every day. Like
Yeah.
Polo G.
I don't listen to him every day, but I like Cudi.
Polo G is another goat. RX Pappy is another one.
Not familiar.
He did 12 Stout Street, which is that song about like hating your mom and all that. And just,
Yeah.
like,
I feel like your taste is way more like to one side. I thought you would be like more of like a Griselda type.
No, I mean,
Deep love for.
Let's be real. West Side Gun makes really cool projects. The other guys just make bad versions of what he makes.
I think that's cap.
No. They're such better rappers.
Okay.
It sounds
Conway,
so different. All of them sound so different.
I'm gonna be honest. I just said that because you did say I was being a hater, so I wanted to say something hating.
Yeah, to test the waters. How about Freddie Gibbs? How do we feel about him?
Man, I used to love him. I haven't listened to him in like a year, maybe 2 years. I think I saw him live and it was really good, and I never listened to him again a day after that. Like,
interesting. He's top 5 ever for me. I'm obsessed with him.
He is good. I think he's not as creative as the Griselda guys, though, and I think Boldy James and the other guys just make much more atmospheric versions of what he makes. I think he is missing he's kind of, I would say, missing a sense of style that they have, but almost like it just doesn't have as much texture to me when I'm listening to him.
For me, I honestly feel like kind of the opposite. I feel like he's a more diverse version of them, where he doesn't. Not that I love Boldy James, but he's not changing up like style. His voice is so specific that like if you're not a Boldy James fan, you'd probably say like, every song sounds the same. They don't.
Yeah.
But I can see why someone would say that.
Yeah.
But I guess like Freddie can like kind of bad sing, but like he does a melodic flow sometimes. Like I think he has more range with his voice.
You're definitely right.
Than maybe like Benny would bring.
No, you're definitely right. And Benny, unfortunately, like when I talk about Griselda, I don't like Benny the Butcher's music. Unfortunately, I just don't like his music. I don't know.
He's got a battle rap voice to him. I've always preferred. I mean, I love Benny, but I've always liked Conway a little bit more because like the more relaxed bars coming than like battle rap bars at you.
Yeah, I think Conway and West Side Gun have they have something that Benny doesn't. I think in long run, like West Side Gun will make much bigger impact than Benny will.
Yeah. At least you said Ka, man. I'm happy about Ka because I'm a big fan of him. Honor Killed the Samurai, fantastic album. But I want to end it with this on a positive note, in a sense. But obviously, streaming is the new thing now. And how do you think streaming will play out? How AI music will play out? Just because I know you're kind of dim about how music is shaping, but like we said before, I think that niche and community aspect is what's gonna be the new wave now, and it's a great thing. Even with you have your own bubble of artists you listen to. I have my own bubble. Adam has his own bubble, but I think that's kind of the next step that will kind of fix a lot of this negative effects of streaming that we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I think we're going into a situation where a lot of if artists want to make a living, they have to develop a small fan base and invest in the people that care, which is kind of I think that's what I've done as well. Like I was talking about earlier, I knew that if I started the channel like this in this format, it won't ever have 10 million subscribers because there aren't 10 million people that want to hear that. And with the same with a lot of artists, like if you have a unique voice and you have some like a unique style that you want to follow and a unique idea, you have to accept that you're not going to be as popular as Lil Baby. And that's just like, but you can still get a lot of value out of that if you can invest in a community and like give people what they want and like provide value to them. So I think that'll just be something that becomes even more true. Just try and I'm not like super dim on the music industry. I have a lot of artists I love, but in terms of like the top 5 rap albums of the year, they haven't been good for a while. Like in terms of the top 5 best-selling rap albums of the last few years of each year, this just hasn't been that many good ones. And we saw it with Kendrick. Like he tried to put out Mr. Morale, and people are still on the fence on whether or not that was like a terrible mistake. I loved the album, but like generally it didn't do super well. I think it actually left the Billboard 200 at this point, which is not good for like that's not good at all. So that that's okay for him, but like it says something about where people are at with the music, I think.
I think to quickly touch on that album, and because I've had thoughts on it, it's still an amazing album, but I think it's we use the word niche so much, but the story about it is so niche that me as just like a white man, like it's just not something I'm going to completely relate to, that I'm going to be replaying some of these songs. And it's fine because it wasn't made for me to digest. It's for people who can really relate to that content.
Yeah, I mean,
so like shout out to him for making content, taking that risk to make content like that.
I found it to be very therapeutic and amazingly well written. I loved the instrumentals, and like I have gone back to it a lot, but like, you know, if someone was like that was a flop, I might say, yeah, that might have been a flop a little bit.
Commercial flop,
Yeah.
but not like artistic
No,
flop,
artistically it
I
was
guess.
great. I mean, he included some like weird, boring song, like the one, Purple Hearts. I was like, what the hell is it?
Bad,
What
awful.
the hell is that? Like 5 minutes long and just random pop hooks and I just. But yeah, I mean, overall, like especially the second half, the tracks with Kodak and Baby Keem.
Count Me Out, I love.
It's really,
And Silent
really
Hill.
good, really good. But yeah, it's not, and especially what you said about like the white man thing, like, you know, about 5 years ago, a lot of like suburban type white people found out about hip hop for the first time, and it became like cool to be like, yeah, mom and dad, I love Kendrick Lamar. He's so cool. Like he made Damn, oh that's great. And like everyone's walking around like playing Damn at like Top Golf and shit. And like, but 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 you know, I've all, you know, I don't say this on my channel, but like I've always wanted to say like, you know, that's not how I am. Like the reason I like hip hop is because it reflects a lot of experiences I've had, and that, like personally, you know, and some people might be like, well, what are you talking about? Well, it just does, and that's that's fine. But I came to it, and I, like Kendrick Lamar, I heard it, and I was like, Good Kid, Mad City made me realize that I had to have a different trajectory in life, and that's when I realized that hip hop is the story of a lot of people, not usually people who look like me, but like if it's very real. And then, you know, obviously all the white kids get into it and they want to hear like Young Thug and weird like Lil Baby and this and that, and then, you know, the labels take advantage of that and it becomes hyper commercial, and that's going to go away. It's not going to be interesting forever. The casual music consumer wants to hear what's cool and trendy, and like it's been trendy for a while, but like the Migos are done. That's all done. Like a lot of that is just going away, and most of the consumers of that are white people. So if that goes away, you know, I'm still going to be here. It's still going to be my favorite genre of music. It's still going to be an amazing way to tell real stories and express yourself. But like, you know, if we're at a turning point where it becomes a little bit more niche and you have to kind of double down on quality to get anywhere, that's like, you know, it happens. I don't think it's the next rock music where, you know, it becomes like just embarrassingly cringe, like a lot of rock bands now are, and that moment really passed. I don't think that's going to happen because it's like it's storytelling music.
That's why.
And was rock ever? Not like a few examples, but not really. So, you know, when rock flopped, it's because it got like way too commercial. And I think, you know, the trap era is over because it got way too commercial. But there's still so much amazing stuff, and there's still so many artists who are expressing themselves in like a meaningful way. So I'm always going to be there for that. I want to keep listening to it for the rest of my life. So
I loved all that, and I want to shout out hip hop for making me a way more empathetic person. Not that I was ever not an empathetic person, but it's just I love artists who storytell, and learning about other people's backgrounds is, I think, important for any community, which is why, I don't know, you grew up in like New York City in an incredibly diverse ecosystem, and you would never like have different thoughts than if you just grew up in a very same race type of like area. So shout out to hip hop for teaching me about the backgrounds of so many different people, not just black people, white people, any race that makes this music.
Yeah, there are a lot of great artists. Like, you guys know Wiki? He's like a Puerto Rican Irish guy. He's from Harlem, but he raps and like, you know, tells all these stories. There are a lot of great French rappers and UK rappers and people from different backgrounds, and like it's really amazing. It's like the best music genre ever created. So, you know, I think there are a lot of different forms of it. So it doesn't, you know, it's going to exist forever.
Let's pin it there. That was honestly beautifully
That's
said.
a great ending.
And I'm so happy you brought rock and roll, because I'm a huge rock and roll fan. It's an art form that I've studied, knowing where it's come from with Chuck Berry and all those incredible artists. And seeing it being taken by the labels and basically destroyed is what I'm kind of seeing with hip hop. But like you said, as long as people are sharing their stories, they're staying authentic, hip hop started in the underground, it's going to remain popping in the underground. There's so many incredible artists that are still coming out now. And as long as we continue creating these communities, supporting these artists, independent or not, there's always going to be a way forward. But I think that's a great way to pin it. Hip hop is always going to be alive, but if you listen to the very end, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. But we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.